Talk about the King and the Queen's state visit to France. Rupert Bell is our royal correspondent and joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. There's no doubt at all, you know, this is all about the entente cordiale. The red carpet has been definitely rolled out, and you know, the fly past, you name it, has begun for, and the big state banquet at the Palace of Versailles last night by Emmanuel Macron. First of all, how significant is this in terms of Anglo-French relations?
I think it sort of puts it back on an even keel. It hasn't actually been a bed of roses, particularly Boris Johnson didn't seem to have an entente cordiale with President Macron. But the body language between the King and the President is clearly one that suggests they do have a very good relationship. And very warm words were being said. Just seems slightly more than would be normal in these circumstances. He's clearly enjoying it. He loves going to France, and clearly that state banquet last night was in a spectacular location, a bit windswept of guests arriving, but 160 people being wined and dined with some very lavishly cooked food, and some pretty decent wine as well was available to the guests, that included some Mick's Jagger with his latest squeeze.
Yes, and Hugh Grant as well. I don't know why, but there we are. Now, in terms of the speech last night, there were some words, some very gently phrased words on the green agenda, weren't there? But given that we just had the Prime Minister making it, well, it was a last minute, a speech yesterday at 4:30 in the afternoon that was supposed to have been later on. The timing of this speech, and we know, King Charles, has been long a campaigner on green issues, and there was a concern. Look, you're king now. You're going to have to tone all this stuff down, because it is party political. It is a political issue. It's not above the political fray. What did you make of what he had to say?
I read through it again, and I must admit it's one of those sort of bland, sort of very warm, fuzzy speeches that, remembering his mother and all through the years, but obviously clearly highlighting some of the issues that the country will need to work on, but in a very soft manner. You could hardly say it was shouting from the rooftops, but clearly we do know the King is very mindful and has been a great supporter of green issues from way back when it wasn't even really fashionable. People really thought he was off his trolley, but
well, he was talking to plants and things like that. Well, look, I mean, he talked about relations between the UK and France have not always been straightforward, he says. This, by the way, was a speech in French as well. But he stressed the unity of the nation. He mentioned the importance of Britain working with France to tackle climate change, saying, "Mr. President, in all of this we can rely on our firm friendship, which is renewed and reinvigorated with each generation." So, I mean, he had talked about the need to tackle that issue. Now, the thing is, again, I wonder how much editing went on. I can't find the exact quotes here. Unfortunately, I don't have them in front of me. Apologies for that. How much negotiation would have gone on between the Palace and Number 10?
Every speech the King makes is probably has to be approved. There's no two ways about it, because while he is the head of state, he cannot start putting his metaphorical foot in it. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it has to be monitored and sort of discussed, and there would be discussions. Look, the Foreign Secretary's been there, so things are being managed behind the scenes as well. But when you think about environmental issues, what was his son doing on Monday and Tuesday was promoting the Earthshot Prize, which is very much about climate change and looking forward to try and help the situation as they see it. So it very much is on his agenda. But overall, you have to say that Vive le Roi was, I believe, being shouted right at the Champs-Élysées. That fly past was good. It does create a sort of fuzzy, warm feeling between the two countries. But let's be honest, there are some serious issues that need to be resolved. And obviously one of them is what's going on at the borders.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no doubt that is a big issue. And again, the soft power issue, it does work. We know the Queen's been useful for that. We know Diana in the past. We know certainly William and Kate of fly the flag on that front. And can I ask you, though, also about, the appearances last night? There's no doubt at all. I'm sorry. Look, you know me. I don't fly a flag myself for the royal family. But wow, Camilla looked amazing. Absolutely. I mean, she's had some some horrible, horrible press over the years. I'm comparing her with Diana, a much younger woman, of course. But she looked absolutely, absolutely stunning. We had the two couples, the president and his wife, and the king and the queen, walking together repeatedly during the day and in the evening. Here's the thing I'm confused about. I know this is not a big state issue. It just amused me. Macron, we understand, is about 5'7" on a good day. King Charles is supposed to be about 5'10", and yet they appeared to be pretty much the same size, same height. If anything, Macron was slightly taller than King Charles. How much has King Charles shrunk, or how good are the Cuban heels that Macron wears?
Touch of the Tom Cruises going on there, perhaps, because to raise his status a little bit. He's not the biggest man, but I must admit, I'm curious now to have a look at his footwear. I did see Mick Jagger's footwear, and they weren't ones that I've ever worn with a dinner jacket. But then when you're 80 and you're the coolest rocker in town, you can probably wear any shoes you like.
Yeah,
but,
there is that,
as he turned, they were basically black trainers, as far as I could work out. But
I love. This is what Rupert's going to be upset about all day. I love this, Rupert. We'll leave it there. Rupert Bell, our royal correspondent.